The Dictator's Playbook: How an American Hitler Would Operate. If Donald Trump, or any modern democratic leader, were to fully transfer into operating like Adolf Hitler, the actions would go far beyond controversial policies or populist speeches. It would require a systematic destruction of American democratic institutions. Manufacturing a crisis to seize emergency powers. Hitler used the Reichstag fire, the burning of the German parliament, as a pretext to convince the government to grant him emergency powers. What he would do? Trump would need a catalyzing national crisis, such as a massive terrorist attack, widespread civil unrest, or a fabricated insurrection. He would use this to declare a national state of emergency, suspending normal constitutional protections, citing the need to save the nation from imminent destruction. Dismantling the checks and balances. Hitler passed the Enabling Act of 1933, which legally allowed his cabinet to enact laws without the consent of the Reichstag, the parliament, effectively rendering the legislature useless. What he would do? Trump would move to officially neutralize Congress and the Supreme Court. He might attempt to pass legislation that allows the executive branch to bypass the legislature entirely. He would fire or arrest judges who ruled against him, replacing them with loyalists who operate strictly to validate his decrees. Weaponizing the justice system against opponents. Hitler immediately used his new powers to outlaw opposition parties, specifically targeting the communists and social democrats, arresting their leaders. What he would do? Trump would use the Department of Justice and the military to arrest high-profile political rivals, e.g. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, leading Democrats, as well as dissenting members of his own party. He would charge them with treason, sedition, or corruption, ensuring they are locked away without a fair trial or are forced into exile. Creating a paramilitary force answerable only to him. Hitler had the SA, brown shirts, to intimidate opponents in the streets, which he later superseded with the SS, a militarized force loyal directly to him, not the German state. What he would do? Trump would formalize a loyalist paramilitary group, perhaps by federalizing certain militias or creating a new internal security force. This group would be used to patrol cities, break up protests violently, and intimidate voters, operating outside the bounds of the traditional military chain of command or local police. Total control of information. Propaganda. Hitler appointed Joseph Goebbels as Minister of Propaganda, controlling all press, radio, film, and arts. The big lie was a central tactic. What he would do? Trump would move beyond calling the media fake news. He would shut down independent media outlets, arrest journalists who criticize him, and implement strict state censorship. The government would take control of internet infrastructure, social media algorithms, and broadcast networks to ensure only state-approved messaging reaches the public. Elevating to a cult of personality. Hitler was portrayed not just as a political leader, but as Germany's infallible savior. Children were indoctrinated to worship him. What he would do? Trump would require absolute loyalty oaths from all government employees, military personnel, and teachers. He would rewrite school curriculums to center himself as the savior of American history. Public art, architecture, and mandatory rallies would be designed to project an aura of invincibility and divine right. Aggressive, expansionist militarism. Hitler's ideology was tied to Lebensraum, living space, believing the German people needed to conquer neighboring territories to thrive, leading to the invasion of Europe. What he would do? Trump would abandon NATO and international alliances, viewing them as constraints. He would adopt a highly aggressive foreign policy, likely launching unprovoked military invasions of neighboring countries, such as Mexico or Canada, or asserting total military dominance over the Western Hemisphere to seize resources and land. Systematic persecution and genocide. The defining horror of Hitler's rule was the Holocaust, the systematic, state-sponsored genocide of 6 million Jews, as well as Romani people, disabled individuals, LGBTQ+ people, and political dissidents. What he would do? To truly act like Hitler, Trump would have to escalate populist scapegoating into state-sponsored extermination. He would identify specific groups, whether based on race, religion, or immigration status, as existential biological threats to the nation. He would create a system of concentration camps where these groups are forcibly relocated, used for slave labor, and ultimately systematically murdered on an industrial scale.